If I could write anything I wanted with comedic, with no filter, it would be everything I ever wrote for Sex and the City, but maybe I would use actual names.
Now, can you give us a snapshot of your books? I understand they're memoirs. They're your experiences going through something. Does each book have a different theme, and can you line them up and go right through a progression of you from, I don't know, your 20s to your 40s or wherever?
Kind of. The first one I wrote was called The Between Boyfriends Book, a collection of cautiously hopeful essays. And it really goes like from breakup to your next boyfriend. That was the idea. So it's kind of like a bunch of essays about the stages of breaking up and then the stages of sort of trying to get over it, and like funny, shorter essays. And then once you're in a new relationship. And I had these kind of punny terms for each one, because I used to have a column in Glamour that was called Dating Dictionary that had, I got to make up a term, and on Sex and the City we always made up terms like that. So right. Like I had premature wee ejaculation, like if you say wee before the person is ready. Yeah. And expiration dating, like you know that you're like almost at the end. So that's what that book is. And then I wrote The Longest Date, Life as a Wife, which was really about being married later in life and kind of combining your life with someone's, but also a baby quest. Because in the same way I wanted to try to write about a breakup while you're right in the middle of it, I felt like when we were trying to have a baby and going through all the infertility stuff, yeah, that nobody was really writing about that in a way that rang true to me, that could be funny but still like break your heart and honest. It always seemed like just sort of a private hell people were going through. So I wanted to write that, and I didn't know when I started it where we would end up, but we ended up adopting Olivia, so it sort of ends with that anyway. Mm-hmm. But not as like the only happy ending, kind of as. And then my third book, which does come after that, it's a children's book called We Waited for You, which is for kids that like, it was just took a while to make your family. However, anybody could be biological child or like a gay couple who needed a surrogate, but just kind of a celebration of family, and that like you were worth waiting for kind of idea. So those are my books.
To what do you attribute your ability to look at life and the various life cycle events up and down, but to always come out on a humorous side of it? And how do you do that? And other people can go completely negative. I have no idea. I'm hoping you can help me out with that. But it's just the ability to turn a tragedy into a comedy, to overblow it. But where does that come from for you?
I'm not sure. That's just been, I mean, I think most people would call me an optimist or a romantic. Even despite all evidence to the contrary, I will still be rooting, especially for friends and other people, and be the last to, say uncle if they are in something that they still want to think can work. I still can maybe imagine a way it could work. So I guess I've always been that, but then I've also just kind of laughing through tears or crying through laughter is sort of my brand of humor and writing, and, bittersweet. I feel like that's the way I see the world. So if something terrible happens, I kind of want to joke about it too. Maybe even write about it to control the narrative again, because sometimes it feels like something that happened to you, or that you got cheated on, or you were asked for a divorce. So to like make it my own, put it through my own filter, and even just a sense of humor or a joke, it just makes it, like it's yours again, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know if it's something you can just do. But anyway, it's been good for me because it's definitely it's a coping mechanism, basically, to just try to find what's funny. But I guess in finding what's funny, you're also kind of finding what's universal. And there is something really healing and comforting about being able to sort of say what's happening in either a funny way or just an honest way, and have people, oh, that happened to me or my friend, or that's kind of the healing part, I think. So I think putting it out there and trusting that other people have been through it, it feels less horrible. And also, like you're part of a community and you have people who understand what you're going through.
Sure. And then, and I guess you combine that positive outlook and the comedic way of looking at things, and your work ethic. If you're feeling something, you want to start writing. And are you someone who writes every day?
Not necessarily. I mean, no, I guess and I'm kind of erratic about it. I mean, I know some people work only in the morning, or
Right.
I wish I was that disciplined, but if I have something due, I will definitely write it. And if I want to write something, like I just was on this trip with my daughter, and there was this place we stayed that I loved, and I wanted to write a piece about that. And so I sort of gave myself a day and a half and not more than that. Like, this is because I'm not getting paid for it. It's not something I have to do. So I sort of imagine how much time I'm going to need to finish something, and then just try to get it done. So I
Yeah.
like to have a sort of a chunk of time to write. It's hard for me to do in little chunks.
Okay. What upcoming projects can people look for to come from you? People who already like your work, or people who are going to watch this, see the long list of stuff that we have, and then want to know what's coming next?
Well, I have a website I finally put together, cindychupack.net, that has a lot of my essays, a lot of interviews, and like kind of advice for writers also. And then just so I can use, and a lot about the shows I've worked on and pictures from them and stuff. The last thing I worked on was Fleischman is in Trouble, which was really fun, about
Right.
divorce. Maybe you saw that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm working on something now that just got greenlit that is going to film in London. I don't know how I'm going to work that exactly, but I'll figure it out.
Right.
And that's based on some books, but I don't think that's been released yet, so I can't really say. But anyway, it's about some young, like 20-somethings in London. And
Amazing.
it'll be on
Amazing
Netflix.
stuff to look out for. You know what? I'm going to ask you another industry question, just something I'm wondering about. I came into this Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon thing late. And now I watched the first 2 seasons, and they said it's not coming out again for, I don't know, another two years. What's the deal with the holdup on these shows? Is it just harder to do these dramas than it is comedy, or what is it? Is there anything
Well, I
about
mean,
it that takes so long?
Game of Thrones is the biggest, most expensive, most expansive, like the way they film in many countries and the props,
Yeah.
like creating a whole world. So that's a huge thing. I do happen to know that one of the writers on House of Dragons, because if you watched it like I did, it felt a little bit like you almost got to the end and then it got cut off a little bit. She said they were supposed to do like 2 more episodes, and then HBO didn't have the budget for it, so they had to end earlier. So that happens. But then I think it's just writing the scripts, prepping the scripts, just the money, and probably there's some calculus to like how long people will wait. I mean, I know my daughter watches Stranger Things, and that's like an endless wait. You're like not even the right age anymore when it comes
Right. Right.
But I don't know, because I've been on shows that were, 24 episodes a year, and they were right on schedule, and it was a grind, and that was hard too. So I imagine people just have to go away, and those must be terribly long hours and really grueling schedules to make shows like that.
Sure. Sure. That's great. Any other advice that we haven't talked about for someone going through a hard period, either a breakup, a loss of a job, a loss of a parent? Any other advice you give to our viewers?
Yeah, I think just remember it's not the end of the story, and you don't really know where you are in the story, but it could very well just be the middle or the end of the second act, and this is going to kick off something else that is interesting and important, and maybe better and just different. So I think rather than feeling so much as the end of my marriage, or it's the end of my father's life or whatever, that to be thinking in terms of what that means for the rest of the people. Because my dad died like a year ago, and well, we had kind of a difficult relationship, but my mom, she's really kind of living her best life now. They stayed married their whole lives, and
Yeah.
she just got her own apartment, which they in the same building they were in, but like a single apartment. So it's her first apartment herself, her whole
Right.
life, because she went from like her parents' house to marrying my dad.
Yeah.
And she's going to Greece with a bunch of girlfriends from her building, and she just came here to visit. I mean, it's not like I wish my dad had died, but I think it was sort of like you wonder how your parent or how someone's going to do alone, but then maybe they're going to find a side of themselves, you included, that is better or different. Good.
Yeah. Amazing. It was an absolute pleasure talking to you today. You have there's a light that comes out of you. You describe yourself as a positive person, but the stories you tell and the way you tell them is somewhat effervescent. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you so much.